Best Irish music on irishradio.org with Jerry Byrne.
Well, I'm sure everyone recognised that particular song, an anthem, an international worldwide hit, number one, huge success back in the 1990s. Not once, but a couple of times. Of course it was. Things can only get better. And online now, I've got the mastermind behind that particular song, and the gentleman who is D-Ream, together with some others. The one and only Peter Cunnah. Peter, lovely to speak to you. How are you?
Oh, that's a lovely intro. Thank you so much. I'm good, sir. How are you?
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Listen. You've had an incredible success over the years.
I've been very blessed to get to do what I do and make a living at it. When I think of how many of my friends have struggled, and indeed some students that I sat in front of at one time. So no, I'm quite aware that it's a privilege, sir. Thank you. Yes.
Indeed, I mean that song. That song. You did a couple of hits, but I mean that one there of Things Can Only Get Better was just an astounding success. Not alone just as a song, but it was actually an anthem as well.
Yeah, it's become it's interesting. It's had obviously I've lived with it my whole life, adult life anyway, and we had our run at it in the early 90s, and we're number one for 4 weeks back in 94, I don't know if you remember. But then later on, Labour used it in 97 too in their election campaign, and then only just recently I found out when they were doing the Clap for Carers over in England during the lockdowns. They were playing it in loudspeakers out of windows, and some person was projecting our logo up onto using a big laser projector onto the side of the hospital, and it was really quite touching. It's really got a life of its own since we've done our version. There's even Women's Cancer Trust. They've done a version of a lockdown with like hundreds of them, and it's brilliant. And there's been some cover versions. So it's kind of like, you have a kid and they get to their early 20s and they kind of leave home. That's the best way I could put it. It's gone into the public domain, and it's become something people enjoy in very different ways. It's really quite touching.
Yes, indeed. I bet it is. I mean, you've had incredible success. You grew up in Derry, I believe.
Yes, I call it Derry, London Derry. So good, they named it twice. We're trying to keep everyone happy here.
Yes.
Trying to keep everyone happy. Jenner Anderson called it Stroke City because L strokes Derry. Listen, I grew up during the Troubles. Kept my head down, played in a band instead of throwing stones at the police, and that's what I learned to do. And I learned to produce and record. And in my first band, Ty the Boy, and we had a little bit of success. We went down to Dublin there, and played at played in front of Dave Pennyfeather and Martin, Paul McGuinness, and the drummer from U2, and they signed us. So we kind of got our head, definitely above water, and then that brought us to London. So yeah, Derry. Yeah, what can I say? My mum used to say, "Why do you want to be a musician?" They're like 2 to the penny, And I said, "Well, I don't know, Mum." And I just wanted to do. That's what I love doing. And Derry, as you know, punches above its weight. We've got two Nobel Peace Prize winners and poet laureates. So it's just a wonderful place in terms of the sort of cult. Well, most of Ireland is, it's not just Derry, but Derry's had some results, And I was always thinking about coming home. You see, because ultimately, I suppose we all come home to roost. And I was 30 years in London before I sort of thought I'd had enough of that now, and I want to take things easier. So I came and I bought a place up in Faughan in Donegal in 2019, and we were here just before the first lockdown. So when they told us to 2 kilometers for your walk, I could just get straight out on the beach. I know how privileged that was compared to some other people's experience. So
indeed, so
yeah, I love it here. Yeah, it's wonderful.
That's absolutely superb. But the one thing you're dead right when you say about the Derry certainly does punch above its weight as regards musicians and singers, and there are just so many people who play music in Derry and into Donegal. It's absolutely astounding.
Yes, it's it is, and no matter where you go, someone's picking up a guitar or someone knows knows the second verse to all the songs we start off with. But it's a big country scene here, isn't there? And there's also a big folk scene, and
Yes.
it's hard not to grow up with that. We used to come home from Buncrana when in it should have been in the '60s and early '70s, and my aunts would sing all those old rebel songs, Four Green Fields and that kind, the old and the Rising of the Moon. Oh, that was all sung to me. We were sitting in the backyard joining in the choruses. So that entertainment, that culture, that's just stayed with me the whole time. Some people say they can hear the country in my voice when I sing, and I was like, I'm supposed to be doing house music here. What are you talking about?
Yes.
But it is, you're right. I mean, but all of Ireland's like that. I think, before iPhones and the internet and all this stuff, people had to make their own entertainment. So you had to have a turn. You had to have you had to get up and do your turn. Remember?
Yes.
So everyone had a wee gig that they did, or one or two songs that carried the evening. That was, back in the time when, the TV was just a figment of some people's imaginations, I'm old enough to say that.
Yes.
I'm in mid-50s now.
Indeed so. It's absolutely true. Absolutely, all you say, Peter, there is absolutely true. Now, you've been, I know with the D-Ream, you've been involved with many other, collaborated with many other artists in your music.
Yeah, I've done some bits and pieces. I did a record with Chicane called Love on the Run. And I did, and Brian Cox was in the band for a couple of years, and we're so proud of him. He's gone on from strength to strength, Excuse me. And, I spoke with him about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and he's working on a book about black holes. And we always used to have great conversations in the tour coach. And I was saying to him, Brian, listen, can I just stop you there? Because I want to say this to you. I think I played my part in your career insofar as you used to spend your time on our tour coach explaining really complicated things to me, and I'm not the brightest pin in the box, right? And he was like, you know what? We made him laugh, you see, and he was like, Pete, actually, I'll give you that. I thought that's the nature of the man. He's really what you see on TV. He's just such a nice person in real life as well. In fact, he was the best man at my first wedding, and we've got such great memories. The pair of us really have. And then people like Simon Ellis who play keyboards with,
Spice Girls.
Spice Girls, and then I had Nick Beggs who was in Kajagoogoo, who plays the Chapman stick. All sorts of really cool musicians. In fact, this new album I've been working with a fella called Will Parnell, who's a percussion player, but his dad was Jack Parnell. Now, do you remember him from the Jack Parnell and his orchestra back in the 60s and 70s?
Yes, indeed.
So this kid's so good. I was hanging out with this fella called Neil Conti, who's the drummer for Prefab Sprout. And he said to me, not only is he a better drummer than me, but he's probably the best percussionist I've ever played with in the world ever, period. And I was like, when Will was working on percussion on the new album, it was just, because he's a human being, I was so surprised I didn't have to fix too much of it up on the computer. He was brilliant. He had a great feel. So no, I've been blessed with the amount of musicians I've had a chance to work with, over the years. And that's what we do, myself and Alan. They were the founding members of the band. We draw in various talent when we can, but I have to say that this album we've done this time is because of lockdowns. We've had to do a lot of work remotely, and we've managed to pull it off. It's coming out on Friday this week. So
that's excellent. That is excellent. Well done. Well done. It certainly must have been a test in trying to put together an album, in the lockdown period. But the one thing you had technology.
It wasn't a test. I'll tell you what it was. It was our sanity, because when the world looks like it's falling apart, I don't know, some people might have gone out and tended to the garden, or maybe they watched their favorite TV show. But myself and Alan, we just did what we did. That's it. I don't go to church so much these days, but I find a spiritual experience when I work on music with Alan. It gives me that fulfillment, and it also distracted me from all this various stuff that just really we've been going through with lockdowns and stuff. So I thought it was a good place to go to. And interestingly enough, we've been focusing on getting it sound. It was the first time, let's put it this way, that we've performed the music, engineered the process, and then mixed it, and then mastered it ourselves. And we're doing all of this publicity through our own publicists, and we're staying away from the main labels. We're just literally we're going like, it's just between us and the fans, and it's wonderful because people are just buying the music. So we're not actually available for streaming because we realized that streaming is theft. So if you know, the double whammy we've had is COVID taking away the live gigs and then streaming rising, which we don't get paid for. So, you know, we can't live on air. So we've got to go out there and we've got to been making physical vinyl albums and CDs, and you can download from iTunes or Amazon, but you can't stream it. So that's where we're at the minute. And we're hoping more and more artists, as time goes on, sort of wise up to these aggregators, these big corporations who just steal from them. I mean, music industry always steals from artists. It's just by a margin of how much they steal. But when you're talking about Spotify, it's, if you know, look at the sums, it's just unforgivable. It's proper highway robbery. So we've just gone direct to our own fan base, and you know what? It's been wonderful. They're really enjoying our new music, and they're also in touch with us. Now that's very different to the past world where you just broadcast it. Nowadays it's an interaction, and it's so much more warm and fuzzy and great. Because for example, like there was a nice weekend there a couple of weekends back. I got pictures of people in garden centres with their children. Some people sent me pictures of being at Jodrell Bank, and we shot Party Up the World, the video for that there. And it's just great because it's a two-way thing. It's a relationship thing. And some of these people are going to come down to the shows, and I'm telling them to come back, and we'll say hello and take photos and hang out. And that's so much different to how it used to be.
Indeed. So that's more sort of along the lines of how the Irish country artists do it. Yeah, I suppose. But that's a good thing, right? Yes, definitely.
You know,
absolutely.
I mean, there may be a crucial point you get to when you're talking about maybe 2 or 3 billion people. That's going to be hard. But you know, I hear about all sorts of bands in America who do that, and they just try and manage it. You know, the Dave Matthews Band, they're really part of their audience. You know, and the audience come in and join the band sometimes and tour with them. It's just that's maybe the future. You know, I don't think it's exclusive. We've always been a broad church, and you know, you'll find that. You'll find your grandma dancing to us as much as you know, your average 6 or 7 year old. I love that. I think that's as an artist, that's more than you could hope for.
Indeed. To be able to reach out to a huge age group like that is something else. As regards the streaming, you obviously have absolutely no time for. I know the amounts of money for each stream of a song which is played on the big streaming organisations is very, very small.
It works out. Now, we've worked out that the algorithm, if you're Ed Sheeran, you get the lion's share of the percentage. And if you're like D-Ream, if we get 1 million streams, we get nearly $4,000, right? But I'm now in a second version of D-Ream, which is my own band, and my partner's got a label where he puts out young bands. Now, he had 250,000 streams, and they gave him the princely sum of 13 quid. So by those numbers, you're looking at nearly, you know, 4 cents for 1,000 streams. Now, and all of this streaming, they don't factor in the fact that there's a loss of sale, right? So they just say, oh, you know, that's 10 million people divided by, you know, blah, blah, blah. And that's how they come up with this figure. Like they come up trying to equate it to like broadcasting signal, but it's not. You know, if someone streams that 100 times, that's £1.50 single that we haven't made. So, you know, people have to ask themselves, they have to start valuing their artists again. Look, the people who like us value us and they buy the stuff. Everyone else can take a long walk off a short pier. I love that expression.
Yes, that's putting it straight on the
there you go.
But the thing is, you know, but it looks at the moment. I mean, you're in a privileged position because you've been very well established. I mean, you've worked with the top. You've been number one. You've done all of that.
Yeah.
You know, but there are many artists who are kind of starting out, and they have no other choice really. They have no fan base as such.
I understand that, but let me tell you this: when we were starting out, my first band, Tyler Boy, we had no access to an audience. We had to go through the majors, right? So that meant we had to go through the filter of the system. And if we had had Spotify and all the rest of it back then, maybe we would have made inroads. People are breaking through on these platforms. They are getting known. They're not getting paid. They're getting known. So you can make a noise. You can build up a direct connection. But what you got to do once you've got to, I have a young kid there, I follow Heggs, who's a friend of one of my friends. And I think he's up at 10 million streams on YouTube. But what he's managed to do, he's turned that into like a situation where he's earning money, but he's actually earning money from selling other things from his website. So, you know, this is all, we're still in the beginnings of this thing, but people will still buy into an artist if they believe in them. And I still believe that people, I still want the fundamentals are there. They want to be entertained. They want to have fun. They want to have the joy. And then, you know, as Bono says, people are still going to buy bottled water, you know, even though there's tap water for free.
Yes. Yes, indeed. Indeed, it's very, very true. It's definitely very, very true. It must be, for someone like you who, you know, is of a time of physical sales, and I mean, basically the most of the sale, vast majority of the sales of Things Can Only Get Better was actual physical CD sales at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, we went double platinum on the first single, which was great. But you know, when I look, I've loved some lovely discs out of it. But and the thing is, more people know that song than have bought our other music. So it's up to us to be annoying enough and be in their face enough. And the problem is, I think the world's so big and so distracted that it takes a long time for someone to go whistle a melody or a tune and then think, oh, that belongs to that band. The song is called XYZ, and I will go and buy. It's just too many. You with me? Things for them to sort of put together. It takes a long time for that to happen. But we're getting that. We're finding people coming through going, oh, I knew this. I've realized you've done all this sort of stuff. They go onto our website and they find out all this stuff about us, and they connect up the dots there. I think you know, yes, we are privileged in that we broke through, but you know, I spent 11 years in an indie band trying to do so through the gift of the major labels. And then what did it for us was we were a part of a wave of a scene. I got into the right scene at the right time, and we rode that wave like a surfer right up to the shore. We just took it the whole way we could, and that was it. But I was looking for a way through. Now, a lot of young artists I meet and I work, and the one thing they ask me, they think it's about the records. It's not about the records. It's about the graft. It's about getting lucky, and it's about being changeable and being open to new ideas and stuff. Because the thing is that if they do the closed shop and the closed thinking, they will not make any progress. And a lot of kids, I've seen it, they expect fame to be handed to them. And the fact is, it doesn't get handed. You have to go out there and graft for it. And you just got to be, you know, and then also just get a bit lucky. And that's it. You've got a window between the ages of 16 and 21 before your friends and family start getting mortgages and settling down. That's a very small window, those 5 years, in which you've got to make it happen. You with me?
Yes, indeed.
And that's a magic time, and that's the time everyone's aiming at, because by the time you see your friends, you know, the pram in the hallway and all the rest of it, that's the enemy of creativity. That's just going to send you into that place. You're going to go, you know what? I've given it everything I got. I got to 21 and I kept going.
Yes.
I saw all of that, and I took the red pill, and I jumped out of the matrix, and I came off the education system, and I went into the club world, and I went into production, and I kept at it. And that's a hard thing to do when everyone's going, you're clearly mad. You'd be so much better as an artist or doing things that we know you for. And it's hard. You gotta press through. You have to press through.
Yes, indeed. It definitely takes an incredible amount of self-belief to keep going. You know, when people are saying to you, what are you doing? You know, like this is not going to work. You know, and all the rest of it. Like so well done on that. You after all these years, you're still doing it. You're still producing and creating, and that's a tremendous achievement.
Well, I've gone from someone in a studio snapping a Kit Kat and telling me I know nothing to now being able to not just write the songs, structure them. I've been able to record them. I can perform the hell out of the parts, all the music, instruments, and then build up records and know how to sonically place things in the stereo picture and know all the plugins and how to mix stuff. And we do it without even thinking now. We just do it. We don't take it for granted, but we definitely, it's more transparent. And we just recently, in lockdown, started learning Final Cut Pro, which means we're now making our own videos. And I've got to tell you, back in the day, I would have spent the best part of £100,000 on some videos, and I spent 300 quid on this Final Cut Pro thing. And I got to tell you, having finished my first video, I sat back and I thought to myself, I'd been completely had by the guys in the old days, because they certainly pulled the wool over my eyes in terms of the pricing. Because I thought it was some kind of black magic that was going on, right? But actually, I'll tell you, once you actually know, it's just clips and timelines and synchronizations, and it's the same as making a record. I felt like, when you go to the mechanics and you leave the car with them and they say it's going to cost you?
Yes.
That's one of those moments. But you know what? That's life. That's what happens, But I like most artists I know, I love learning new things. So we went at that, and we've now made our third video for the third single. So we've had a lot of success doing that, which is great.
That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I mean, there's no doubt about it. While, I know for the likes of yourself, there is the downside of the low payments, shall we say, on streaming. But on the plus side is today, there is the technology, and the technology is phenomenal. What can be done?
Oh, it's incredible. And the thing is, it's making, first of all, it's what I call the democratization of music. It's like, back in the day, if I would have killed to be able to have, even on what I have on my phone now, took up a bank of synthesizers that would have filled your average sitting room. And now all the kids have access to this. But the upside of that is all the kids are following their dreams. But guess what? I was reading recently that kids don't want to be pop stars anymore. That's the new big stars are gamers and influencers.
Yes.
So it's interesting the way that kind of thing's gone. And I just think, I think it's really cool. Of course you should be, because that's where you got to be really obsessed by that stuff. And you remember in the early days of gaming, parents would be going, "Oh my God, you're on that thing so often. It's just no good. It's just games. You got to work on your homework and get your studies underway and all that stuff." And actually, some of these kids turn into multimillionaires just playing the game that they play, but in Wembley Stadium to a whole audience of people who play the same game. If it's Fortnite or any of these things, it's just what they do, right? So that's how the world works,
It is crazy old world. I mean, there are well-known people as regards playing these games, doing videos like PewDiePie and people like that, like who are quite literally millionaires out of this game.
Yeah.
It's incredible, absolutely incredible.
It's the new rock and roll. In fact, I would even go so far as to say that the new megastars are actually comedians. I mean, some of these guys, and I went to see Brian, right, when he was doing his tour with Robin Ince, and I was like, wow, I was so blown away, because it's just his intellect, massive stage, huge screens, and he takes people on a journey because he's very good. His biggest influence is a man called Carl Sagan. I don't know if you can catch your mind around the 70s, and Carl Sagan was the poster boy for science back then, and Brian's done the same thing for our time. And his thing, he was doing stadium tours in America just before COVID. And so I think that's on the cards now. They've been rearranged. He's going to go out there. I mean, he's playing to 10 and 15,000 people in the stadium. I mean, that's the new rock and roll, right?
It is. Definitely is.
Yeah.
It just goes to show you straight. Things of this crazy old world do change, and that's the way it is. Yeah. Peter, listen, it's been absolutely fascinating chatting to you. Well done, and congratulations on all you've done. And you've got the new album is coming out on this Friday. You've got this
Friday. It's called Open Hearts, Open Minds. It's on Bandcamp. You can download it on iTunes, or come to our own website. We're D-Ream.co.uk. -ream, ream.co.uk, and we're there. And come place an order, or tweet us, or whatever it is you want to do, and we're around. So come and say hi.
Great stuff, and things, as I say, can only get better. Peter.
Well, they can't get any worse, let me tell you. They cannot get any worse.
Indeed, Peter, listen, lovely to chat to you. Yeah. Thanks a million.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure, sir. Yeah, you have a great evening now.